Izuku Midoriya is born into a world full of quirks, superpowers, or really whatever you want to call them. But this version of Izuku is born, well, quirkless. And every single step of the way, they check what his quirk is and try to find out if he even has a sliver of a quirk. If there's any chance that he's going to be a late bloomer, if there's any chance that he's going to be able to gain a quirk of some reality. Now, of course, that's not going to happen, at least not in a traditional sense. Izuku flat out doesn't have a chance at getting a quirk, but he goes through his life as a normal kid, at least all the way up until he's about 14 or 15 years old. Every single turn, every single moment, everybody's asking, oh, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to do? Everybody wants to be a hero, but Izuku himself, he doesn't know. He has no idea. Yes, he wants to be a hero. Yes, he wants to be like All Might, but can he really be like All Might? Can he be like All Might without a quirk at all? And Izuku, well, he's always been a nice kid, a good kid, a kid that is always looked up to certain people that really are great mentors or great people, role models to look up to. He's always been a very nice person to every single person that is around him, and that's not really the case in terms of other people. In terms of other people, there's a lot of people out there that are rude to him, are messed up to him, and that would include like Bakugo, all his friends and cronies, and all these other people. They would treat him like garbage, and Izuku would be at a loss for what he's going to do, at a loss for who he can truly be. And it all comes down to this one day that he's listening to his teacher. His teacher's telling and asking them all, what do they want to do? What do they want to do to, for their future? What do they want to do for the rest of their lives? And he just says, oh, well, I already know all of you guys want to be heroes. And he goes on and on about this or that, about how he knows they all want to be heroes. It's not a big surprise and blah, 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 like all this other stuff, right? And Izuku's just sitting there like, damn, like really? Like everybody wants to be a hero. I mean, but I'm not, right? I can't be a hero. I don't have a quirk. I don't have anything. I just have me. It's just me, just normal me. And of course, the teacher hears that Izuku actually signed up to take the UA entrance exam. But of course, everybody starts laughing at him. Everybody starts making fun of him, saying like, are you serious? Like the entrance exam, like you're not gonna be able to do it. Like there's no way in absolute anything you'll be able to do it. Like there's just no chance. So why would you even try? Why would you even give that effort? And that same day, Izuku would eventually heading home to his mother and just his normal house. And he's just thinking to himself, like, is this even worth it? What's the point? What's the point of him trying to do this? He can make a difference in other ways. He has to be able to make a difference in other ways. And then after all this is kind of going through his head, Izuku would actually make a detour to a nearby park. And this park, I mean, it's a normal, typical park, but he begins to hear something. He begins to hear chirping. He begins to hear this odd sound. It sounds like a bird or some sort of bird that is in pain, in suffering. He runs over toward the noise. The noise gets louder and louder, and eventually he arrives at it. He picks the bird up, and the bird itself feels warm, but not to the warm that you would see. It's almost like you put your hands in front of a campfire warm. He doesn't know what's going on or what this thing is, but it looks like you're far from your typical bird. The bird itself looks red in color, but the wings look like they're on fire. The wings themselves look like the color of flames. And he sees that the bird doesn't have any visible injuries, but it's hurt somehow. It's crying in pain, but he doesn't know what to do. What's wrong with it? What's going on? And Izuku runs off trying to get the bird some help, trying to get the bird anything, but he can't find anybody, nobody near, in which the bird eventually kind of compels him to just sit with him until the time is up. In which, obviously, Izuku doesn't know what's going on, but he just feels like he should sit, feels like he should wait. And so he does. He sits down, puts the bird in his hands, and sits with the bird until the bird will slowly but surely lose consciousness and slowly but surely will have its life stripped from him. But as the bird passes away, and as the bird dies in the hands of Izuku Midoriya, a flame would appear, a flame on the bird, and the bird itself would disintegrate into nothingness, only just ash leaving. And as the ash leaves, Izuku feels the ash enter his body. It's as if it's absorbing through the skin, and he's in shock. He doesn't know what's happening, what's going on. The bird, what happened to the bird? He looks at his hands, there's nothing there. The bird's gone entirely, as if it didn't exist at all. He runs over to the location that he found the bird, but the location, it looks odd. Like, what's going on? It doesn't look anything like what it was. And then Izuku feels this warm sensation cover his entire body. It's as if it's flames, fire coursing through him and coursing around him entirely. He feels his back open up in a way, and wings begin to appear behind him. He's in shock. He doesn't know what's happening, but he feels this fire burning even brighter than before, and he collapses to the ground trying to breathe. But as he struggles and struggles and struggles, eventually he would calm down, and eventually Izuku Midoriya would be able to breathe just fine. He would focus extremely hard on his breathing and his breaths, and eventually the wings would go back within his body and he would relax. He doesn't know what's happening or what happened, but eventually he would race home. He would race home as quick as possible to his mother and tell her about what happened, what occurred, in which she's in shock. She doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't know what's going on. She even thinks like maybe this is your quirk. Your quirk is finally showing up. Your quirk finally manifested. But Izuku's like, no, it was that bird, that little bird. He doesn't know what happened, what it was, but it was like a bird, and he explains it. He describes the bird, in which his mother's like, that's not a bird I've ever heard of. That description, it just doesn't fit anything that we've ever heard of. And they begin to do research online, trying to find different versions of birds and stuff like that. And eventually they come across something that isn't your typical bird, because frankly, it's not supposed to be real. It's not supposed to be serious. It's not supposed to be in front of them. This is a mythological creature known as a phoenix, in which Izuku's shocked because it's so small. Like, this doesn't make sense at all. Like, we're talking about a phoenix. I mean, but it's so tiny. A phoenix, aren't they supposed to be big? Like, aren't they supposed to be powerful? In which, of course, she would bring up the fact that just because something is small doesn't mean it's not powerful. In which she says that maybe that phoenix chose him to become this next kind of master of fire, this next person to channel the power of what they know as the eternal phoenix, in which it granted him this quirk, granted him this power, in which Izuku's in shock, thinking, this doesn't make sense. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand why it would choose him. It would choose a quirkless person, in which, of course, Inko's like, nobody knows. None of us do, truly, but there has to be a reason for this. There has to be a true reason why it would decide to choose you, Izuku. In which Izuku thinks for a little bit, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know if there's like a grand design in all this. He doesn't know if there's a reason for all this. He doesn't know if there's a true kind of a thing that is, valid for what's happening. He doesn't know. He has no idea, but he knows that this is a chance for him to be the hero he wants to be, and a chance for him to become the hero he wants to be so badly. And that's what Izuku is going to set out to do. Izuku starts by training with these powers, learning to fly better, learning to utilize this fire that he can control, but also manipulate entirely. These flames that he creates, he can really, truly choose how hot, how normal, how calm, how cleansing, anything that it could truly be. From purifying to burning down buildings themselves, he could do all of it. He can do any of it. And that's something that he's in shock about, but he trains for months on end, studying, training, eventually leading him to the UA entrance exam. And this entrance exam is something that excites him, something that they had to rewrite in his kind of whole entrance kind of written portion, that he does have a quirk now. They kind of deem it as like a fire or phoenix like quirk. They don't really know what it is necessarily, but that's what they kind of deem it as. And Izuku would kind of get his chance, go through the written portion of the exam, and then eventually it is now time for the practical portion of the exam. And the practical portion is a very, very interesting portion, because the practical portion is about defeating and destroying robot after robot. And Izuku, well, he flies around this area while trying to fight all these robots, destroying them, melting them, and obliterating them. Absolutely obliterating every last one of them. And as he does this, as he destroys every single robot that he sees, burning them down, but then extinguishing the flames just as he melts them through, Izuku would get an opportunity to save someone as well. Seeing a girl by the name of Ochaku Uraka on the ground, he would fly through, grab her, and push the rubble off and save her, getting her to safety as he sees this giant robot. And as the events of the UA or the UA entrance exam is about to finish, well, someone or some teachers upstairs want to see what the kid is capable of in terms of this giant robot, in which Izuku wouldn't even blink an eye, flying straight toward it, lighting it ablaze. A golden mythical flame burning hotter and hotter as the flame would crumble this giant robot to literal ash. And as this happens, as all this occurs, everybody who is watching, every teacher, every faculty member is in shock, wondering how did he do this? And it's said that he didn't gain his quirk. He didn't get his quirk until legitimately, well, months ago. Normally kids, they have a quirk show up at the age of 4, but not him. No, he got his quirk in just way later. And they don't understand. They don't understand if it makes sense for him. Maybe he has that runs in the family in terms of the regard of him actually, getting a quirk later. They don't know. They have actually zero clue. But at the end of the day, they don't need answers. All they need is this. All they need to do is look at what's happening and figure out if this kid has the potential they really believe he does. And they need a closer look. And it's obvious that this kid has the potential and the chance to be the next great hero. So giving him that opportunity and stamping him with that #1 student title, well, that's something right there that they will not mistake. Because the #1 student coming into UA, well, it is and will be the one and only Izuku Midoriya. Someone who, guess what, didn't have a quirk until like 10 months ago, which is shocking and unbelievable. And there's a lot of people that won't believe it in the first place. And that includes Katsuki Bakugo, who shows up at his house telling him that he heard about these rumors of this kid, green-haired kid with fiery aura and fire on his wings. How does that even make sense? And he tells him, has he been making a joke out of him this entire time, his entire life, making a joke about this power? In which he tells Bakugo that no, he hasn't. It truly showed up only 10 months ago, and now he has a chance to be a hero just like they wanted to be when they were kids. But it seems as if Bakugo is not as happy for him as he should be. And he basically calls Bakugo out for this, telling him, like, it seems like you're afraid. That you're afraid that I'll outshine you somehow. That you will fall short of what people believe. And you will fall short in general. But for me, this is just my chance. This is my opportunity. This is my chance to be better, to be greater than I've ever thought I could be. But it seems like you don't like that idea. In which Bakugo shuts down for a second, but then pauses and tells him, you know what? No, I do care that you have a quirk. It was scary and it freaked me out because I thought you were messing with me. I thought you were playing me. Because I do think we're friends, Izuku Midoriya. But guess what? I'm still going to be better than you. And he's still that cocky Bakugo. Yes, he has a little bit of respect for Izuku, but at the same time, Bakugo still tells him that he's feeling to be better than him. He's going to be better than him. In which Izuku shakes his head and watches Bakugo leave, and he tells him as he's leaving that he's never going to surpass him, not ever, since he was gifted this second chance. In which Bakugo would be pissed to hear this, because in a way, he slightly believes this as well. He slightly believes that there's a chance, a small chance, in his brain at least, that maybe, just maybe, there is no catching up with Izuku Midoriya anymore. But he lets that leave his mind. He no longer is thinking about that idea. They both start at UA Class 1A, of course, and Izuku heads in, and the first challenge they get is to have a quirk assessment test with, well, the one and only Shota Aizawa. And the first person to the plate is Izuku Midoriya, whose goal and whole idea is to throw the ball as far as possible. And that's exactly what he does. He chucks the ball, and it begins to just have a blaze of fire surrounding it, and it gets sent really, really far. We're talking hundreds of meters, maybe even close to 1,000 meters. But of course, that's not like, the end-all be-all. We have a girl that ends up throwing it to infinity. Now, that doesn't mean Izuku's scores don't hold up to a massive standard, because when he starts doing these other portions of this exam, or other portions of this quirk assessment, he shows that he is fully capable of so much. He shows so much throughout this time. He literally is faster. He's stronger than some of the people that are even there, and his high scores in almost every single capability, and his top scores in almost every single capability. He shows that his level, at least in terms of raw power, is higher than most of the people here, getting that number one kind of student and that number one in the quirk assessment just like that, proving that he is really worthy of that number one title, that number one stature. And of course, Izuku just continues to push forward on this idea, continues to push forward on this this want to be even better, and he would get a chance to even face off with Katsuki Bakugo, as the next day they would do heroes versus villains training. And this training, well, it's a pretty straightforward idea. The heroes got to touch the bomb, capture the villains, along those lines. And the villains, well, they just need to protect the bomb for 5 minutes or capture the heroes, making it so they can no longer touch the bomb, obviously. And this would be a villain team of Bakugo and Tenya Ida, and a hero team of Izuku Midoriya and obviously Ochaku Uraraka. And this would be a simple one. Izuku would just fly around, search where the bomb is, melt through the glass, and eventually find the bomb, touch the bomb, and just like that, it would be done and dusted. Izuku and Ochaku being at the very top in terms of how fast and how proficient they were at actually taking this portion of the kind of training session down. And this would piss off Bakugo. Bakugo would be angry about this. At the end of the day, he wanted to fight Izuku Midoriya. He wanted his chance to prove that he was stronger. He wanted this chance to prove that he could beat him. But of course, Izuku didn't really give him that option. Izuku didn't really give him that chance to prove that he was this or that. And Izuku just did what he thought was best. He did what he believed was the correct thing to do, and that was obviously just avoid conflict and just touch the bomb and win the training session. In which, of course, All Might would congratulate him and Ochaku for thinking smarter, not harder, right? And avoiding conflict in general. And that's something that Izuku believed that he really was going to excel at, and that's what he did excel at. And Izuku and Ochaku passed with flying colors, leading to obviously Bakugo still being a step behind his quote-unquote rival. This would lead obviously them to finishing up their kind of heroes versus villains training, and then eventually it would be kind of time for their next portion of training, and that next portion of training would obviously include the rescue portion of various different trainings. Now, that would be with the USJ. Now, obviously the USJ, doesn't go to plan like it was supposed to normally, because obviously their whole deal was they wanted to work on rescue training, different times, different places, different areas. That's the thing that they wanted to get into. But obviously when they got there, the USJ was getting run over by various villains. And Izuku is shocked to see this. Like, okay, that's not good. Like, what is happening? And before you know it, he's teleported through a portal and he falls straight into the water. Now, it's a little inconvenient, but Izuku never really messed with water for the most part in dealing with his own powers. But he could still feel the fire surging around him and surging through him. So when a kind of a fish-like creature or fish-like villain would come attack him, he would immediately be able to utilize fire itself to actually hit the villain away, and then Asui would come through and swoop him up and actually save him. He thanks her, of course, and says that they'll be able to get out of here pretty easily, but he should probably do something about these villains. He doesn't know exactly what he should do, but he decides to put kind of a layer of fire over the water so that they can't just freely escape and freely get out, and kind of keeps them down there without, any chance of getting out. But of course, it doesn't hurt them necessarily. He would then utilize his wings or his ability to fly to take both both Mineta and Asui away, and also to safety, placing them down. As he does this, he looks back to see that Aizawa is fighting off all these villains, fighting a ton of these villains and actually defeating them. But of course, this would lead to Aizawa getting smacked right into a wall by the Nomu. The Nomu would smack the hell out of Aizawa, and the Nomu would just stand there completely still, and Izuku would fly in, swooping up Aizawa and getting him out of harm's way. But seeing that Aizawa is extremely hurt, Izuku would tell him to calm down and don't look, in which he would be confused, but he would close his eyes as Izuku would light him on fire, basically. But it would begin to heal the injuries. It would begin to heal the injuries that would actually hurt him or have him, for the most part, injured. And like a lot of the brutal stuff that happened, it doesn't fully heal him. As the flames would dissipate, he would be okay. Like, he would be somewhat okay, but he would still be hurting in different areas. But he would be okay enough to like be conscious, be aware, and also utilize his quirk if need be. And he tells Izuku to get out of here, go get help, and get help from somebody. And he tells him that, well, Tenya already ran off. He already ran off to get help, so there's no point of him flying away. And as he says this, the Nomu would come charging in, and Izuku would send fire and flames toward the Nomu as much as he possibly can, and even kind of make the flames grow bigger with his wings flapping straight toward it, creating a kind of like a mini hurricane of fire. And as he's doing this, he would try to brace himself for an eventual attack from the Nomu, but of course someone would come swooping in, and this would be All Might. All Might would take the fight to the Nomu, and with the flames on the Nomu, it seems like it's making the Nomu a little bit weaker. At least weaker to the point where he's easier to actually hit, and easier to actually take down in terms of damage. And as Izuku, well, he gets Aizawa into a safe place. He goes to look to try to help All Might, but as he goes to help All Might, a hand would go through a portal and it would grab onto the wing of Izuku. Izuku's wing would then basically perish, and it would begin to spread to the rest of his body. Izuku could feel his body crackling, crumbling, and Izuku would panic. He would begin to panic extremely hard, trying to do something. But before you know it, before anything happened, and before anything would even go on, well, Izuku would crumble into dust, and Shigaraki would begin laughing as All Might would see this as kind of like he needs to get it done quick, like he needs to finish the job quick, and he would punch the Nomu so hard he goes spiraling out of the entire building. Everybody's in shock, looking at, well, the literal dust that is crumbled, that is Izuku Midoriya. And as Shigaraki basically sees the Nomu get launched out of the area, Shigaraki and Kurogiri, they kind of stand their ground, saying they're not going to leave until All Might is on the ground, perished, and killed. And as they're saying this, they begin to feel rumblings all around. Fire begins to spurt out, and fire begins to cover a ton of the area. Of course, a lot of people would look toward anyone else, what's happening, and then this leads to Bakugo seeing an opening, immediately hitting Kurogiri and Shigaraki with an explosion, and also we have Todoroki come out of nowhere as well. and send ice spiraling toward both of the villains, as All Might lands a crucial blow to both of them, knocking them both out. But this rumbling, this kind of shaking, and the fire that's now appearing isn't from anybody else. Everybody's staring in awe as the fire would consume the dust that was of Izuku Midoriya, and Izuku Midoriya would come out of the flames, and he would come out of the flames with his wings even larger than normal, but the fire even brighter than normal as well, and his clothes completely burned to an absolute crisp, in which everybody's in complete shock, but at the same time, they're like, can someone help him get clothes on, like, ASAP? In which, of course, a ton of the other heroes get there, capture the villains, get them in handcuffs and stuff like that, and they cover up Izuku, and Izuku even covers himself up with his wings. And Izuku's basically sitting there like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? Seriously, like, he saw something. Like, it was crumbling. His body was crumbling. He was breaking, and he was gone. He was dead. In which they don't know what's happening, but he thinks to himself that he saw an image of something. An image of this creature that would be of this phoenix variety, and the wings of the creature would spread and cover Izuku once again, as if it protected him, as if it brought him back. And Izuku looks at his body, looks at his hands, looks at his anything, his wings, and none of it. It's not hurt, it's not damaged. He doesn't know, but it seems as if he's back. He doesn't know what happened, but he's back. And everybody's like, well, whatever happened, whatever occurred, well, all they can say is that it's good that he's alive, right? That's good that he's, not dead. In which Izuku nods his head and says, yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm glad I'm not dead either. In which they would all leave, and they would all get a little bit of time, some time off, and Izuku would just try to learn what happened. He would still research things, look for things, and he learns about how the Phoenix is borderline eternal. Like, he dies and then resurrects, but Izuku doesn't understand. The bird, the little Phoenix he had in his hands, he died. He watched him die, but then he realizes, no, but he didn't. He gained life within Izuku once again. He didn't die. And then he realizes that's what it is. The Phoenix decided to give Izuku this chance at a new life, and in turn even granted himself, the Phoenix itself, life as well. Izuku is in shock that this blows his mind to the point where he doesn't understand much of it all, but of course there's a conversation between him and Aizawa, all these other teachers, what happened, what occurred, blah blah blah, but Izuku doesn't know everything. He has really zero clue the details of it. He only knows it based on mythology. That's all he can really understand. It's all he can really get through his mind. And none of that is fact. No mythology is just straight fact. So how is he supposed to know? How is he supposed to, understand and fully get it through, the whole idea of what's going on? I mean, he has no clue. But at the same time, they tell him that it's good to see that he's alive and well, and he should refrain from putting himself in scenarios like that ever again, because, nobody wants to see him, die. And we don't know if that whole situation, what occurred and all of the things that happened, will happen all over again. In which Izuku nods his head and says, yeah, he agrees. He has no intention of dying, so he'll try his best to stay away from it. And this would lead to the rest of the days coming to an end, and eventually Izuku would be headed out to the UA Sports Festival to stand in front of so many people and to give his speech. He gives his speech to the people that are surrounding, and he gives this speech telling everybody what is going to happen, what's going on, and how they're going to put on one heck of a show for every single one of them. That they're going to give them a show to truly remember. Izuku tells them all of this, and everybody is surging with excitement, is surging with this want and happiness, and they're just flat out ready for whatever is going to happen. And he tells them that this performance will burn brighter than anything you could possibly imagine. And as everyone cheers, everybody gets set up and ready, and everybody prepares themselves, because the first thing that they're going to do is an obstacle course race. And Izuku zooms past everybody, flying through the area, and flames would be trailing right behind him. He would cut past all these robots, cut past every little obstacle you know to man that is showing up, and eventually he would win before anybody would even be close to the last obstacle. And this would be pretty damn impressive. Everybody's shocked, everybody's cheering, and Izuku would get a quote-unquote handicap, giving him that 10 million point band. But we all know that with the ability to fly, the controllability of his flames, with a team of him, Ochaku Araka, Tokiyami, and Mei Hatsume, it would be very easy for him to fly up and avoid any danger. And on top of that, he's able to utilize the wind from his wings to kind of just get everybody out of the way, forcing them to basically be pushed back or unable to even get close. And luckily enough, Izuku is able to kind of get a feel for it, right? He's able to get a feel for protecting his teammates and also make it so that nobody actually gets close, leading to them passing and obviously finishing the cavalry battle portion of the UA Sports Festival. But the real moneymaker, the real one that everybody wants to see, is, well, the 1 versus 1s. And the first person Izuku faces off with is Hitoshi Shinso, someone who has a quirk that is very unique, and he begins to immediately speak with Izuku, talking to him, saying this, saying that, and eventually he would get a word out of Izuku, and Izuku would be in full control of Hitoshi Shinso. But of course, as this is occurring, Izuku is seeing something, seeing the Phoenix stand in front of him once again, and as the Phoenix stands in front of him, Izuku awaits something. What is it going to do? It's just staring at him. What's happening? All he sees is that until the Phoenix screeches at him, screaming so loud that it shocks him out of the trance, and Izuku looks at Shinso and screams as well. And as he screams, and as this kind of screech or this Phoenix cry would happen, it would send shock waves toward Shinso, sending him flying out, and put him this kind of emotional manipulation of fear basically throughout his entire body. I mean, he would be terrified. He would be like, what was that? In which obviously he would calm down eventually, but that screech itself made him actually terrified. Like, what even just happened? What even just occurred? I mean, it borderline broke him in terms of just flat out fear. He was terrified at what just happened and what just occurred. But luckily enough, it's over, and he's, well, unfortunately out, and he unfortunately loses. But he even looks at Izuku and wonders, what the hell is that kid? And everybody else is wondering the same thing, especially when he takes on Todoroki, and Todoroki continues to utilize his ice in hopes of, well, cooling off Izuku. But as he flies through, as the fires begin to grow brighter, Izuku, well, he proves why there is no hope for Todoroki, and that the ice he continues to use will only make things worse, as it just melts around him as he touches it, and as it melts around him as he flies through. And eventually Izuku would get toward him and be close enough and lands a crucial blow, sending him flying outside the ring, or flying outside the stage, landing him, well, at a point where he was defeated, and Izuku would be pushing further and further for what is to come, and pushing further and further for what is next for himself. And that would include, obviously, facing off with Teniida, who he is, well, defeated very easily, but also facing off with his childhood rival, Katsuki Bakugo. And Bakugo tries everything, explosion after explosion, and every single technique he possibly can think of and imagine, but none of it, not a single little bit of it, would work. And Izuku would overwhelm him with his flames, with his ability to fly, and just with his overarching, insane amounts of power. And as, well, Bakugo would try his best, would even release an explosion big enough to cover the entire stage, Izuku would come out unscathed, as you could see this kind of flame, or these flames, cover him with his wings, covering him as well, using it as kind of like a shield. And Izuku dissipates all the smoke almost instantly and knocks him directly off the stage, defeating Bakugo in one foul swoop. And everybody is watching, and everybody is silent, and they all staring at Izuku and the wings that grow bright and grow brighter as he stares around. And as this happens, everybody begins to cheer. Everybody chants his name, and Izuku Midoriya is basically shown that he really is next, that he really is the next person, the next great hero, and the next powerful hero that everybody will look up to. But as this is happening, as Izuku stands on that podium, as he is granted the #1 student in Class 1A, or in the first year, Izuku would be getting watched very closely by somebody. Very, very closely. All For One is currently watching Izuku Midoriya, currently watching what this kid is. He's heard rumors, he's heard little tidbits, and he saw just a little bit. While Shigaraki and Kurogiri might have been captured and put away, he got the information about this kid, about Izuku Midoriya and his powers. And he learned that this power that he has might just be the key to him really unlocking true immortality. And he now knows that plans change, but some plans, they may change for even the better. But with that said, someone might be watching Izuku Midoriya for very, very, very bad reasons. But that is where we're going to have to end off part 1 of 2 of What If Deku Had an Eternal Phoenix Quirk. Izuku Midoriya is now done with the UA Sports Festival, and now it's time for him to take on another journey, another chance, and another, well, potential kind of coming out party for Izuku Midoriya in terms of showing off his strength. And he gets quite a few different offers, and these offers vary from top level heroes to lower level heroes to the top of the top that you would, or the cream of the crop you would ever really think of. Now, Izuku would decide, you know what, I want to pick somebody who's genuinely going to help me from day one, and that would be Endeavor. Now, initially he would believe this to be a good choice. That's until he hears word of who Endeavor is, what he is, and also from his own son, Todoroki, or Shoto Todoroki, that Endeavor, he's not going to help him very much. And Shoto got over a little bit of usage of his fire and decides, you know what, if I'm going to be the best I got to be, maybe I should go work with my father. But it seems as if Izuku is just going to be a pawn in their little game. And that's exactly what happens. Izuku goes in, and he eventually would kind of be a part of this kind of Endeavor training Shoto type of thing. And Izuku would not be happy about it. I mean, not at all. But Izuku would feel that there's this odd connection between him and Shoto. Nothing like odd or anything or weird, but it would be like this connection of firepower itself. It's as if the flames of the Phoenix are kind of connecting to Shoto in a weird way. So the more they train, the more the firepower Shoto is actually gaining, the stronger he's actually getting. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and something that, well, Izuku himself doesn't really understand to its fullest extent. Now, with that said, though, Izuku has a couple options here. He trains with Shoto and also Endeavor, and eventually it leads them to Hosu City. But obviously he hasn't been getting anything in terms of like some crazy amount of knowledge and crazy amount of this or that. He hasn't really been getting the level of knowledge and fighting skills and all of this stuff the way he actually really wants to. Because at the end of the day, we obviously know Endeavor has his thoughts on Shoto. So he's not really fully focused or even that focused on Izuku, which is fine for Izuku. Izuku continues to train, continues to prepare, continues to do this or that, and, you know, anything you can think of. And he eventually, obviously, they head to Hosu City, and this is where they come across a fight with the Hero Killer Stain. And the Hero Killer Stain, well, he's pretty impressive. His kind of prowess for swordsmanship and all the above is definitely scary. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see the level that he's at and the level that Stain could get to. But of course, they're not really thinking too hard about that when they're trying to help their own kind of student, or their own person that they get along with, their own friend. And that's, well, his name being of Tenya Ida. And all they're doing the entire time is trying their best to help Tenya stop what's happening. And Izuku actually gets Tenya to not be stuck in this kind of state of paralysis by using his own fire, curing him of that paralysis. And everybody, or Todoroki and even Stain, they're pretty shocked. They're like, whoa, what did he just do? How did he even do that? Like, that's pretty insane. How did he even get that done? In which Izuku doesn't really have time to explain, and doesn't even want to explain at all. But he helps Tenya Ida, giving them another person to help fight the hero killer, and eventually they are able to defeat him. But we all know there are repercussions for that. They do get into a little bit of trouble, but luckily not into some serious trouble. Like, it's not anything insane. They're not like super in deep trouble or anything like that. Luckily enough, they're all good to go, and nothing crazy or nothing bad necessarily happened. And they're able to kind of progress where they want to progress, and progress to the eventual kind of stoppage of Stain. But also, they have it so Endeavor takes the credit, so they actually don't end up getting in trouble, which is a really good thing, because ain't nobody want to get in trouble in the long run. So it's good that nobody will actually get in trouble in this time around. Now, with all that said, Izuku and Todoroki would then head back off with Tenya back to UA. Obviously, Tenya would get into trouble a lot more than Izuku and Todoroki, but this would lead them to actually facing off in the kind of final exam. And this final exam would include kind of the normal written portion of the final exam, but the main thing is taking on one of the heroes or one of the faculty members of UA. And funny enough, Izuku is actually teamed up with Todoroki once again. And this team up is actually against All Might himself. And this is a pretty scary team up. I mean, it's a pretty daunting one at that. But with both of their fire powers, they're able to somewhat slow down and keep up with All Might. And it seems like being around Izuku allows Todoroki to harness an even greater fire power than he's ever had before. This fire power being absolutely insane, even turning his fire from the normal like red fire to this blue, combined with this ice-like fire that is absolutely ridiculous, and something that obviously nobody really understands to its fullest extent, but everybody's watching like, whoa, this is crazy, this is ridiculous. I mean, how is this? How are they even keeping up with him? Leading to All Might getting kind of stumped with this fire, slowed down, and unable to move to his fullest capabilities. And when this is happening, Izuku and Todoroki are able to get out of harm's way and actually get out in general, like leave the premises, so that they can quote-unquote win the match, or quote-unquote win the final exam. After they defeat All Might in somewhat traditional sense, they will then are allowed to go to the forest training camp. And this right here, the forest training camp, is their time to get a ton of training in, to get preparation in, and do anything they possibly can to get more powerful, to get stronger, and anything you could possibly think of. And that's exactly what they're doing, exactly what they're getting into. And after a lot of progression, after Todoroki, after Bakugo, after Izuku, they all progress pretty heavily, and they would find themselves actually leaving the forest training camp pretty early on. And after this is all said and done, after all the forest training camp training is all done and in the past now, they all head back to UA with a lot more power under their belts. But there's one thing, one person that has been watching, one person that has been waiting for his chance to strike. And as the bus goes down the street, as the bus goes calmly down the road, a Nomu, actually multiple Nomus, would strike the bus and turn it over on its head. Immediately, the students and the faculty are trying to get people out of there, and Izuku would escape, but immediately is grabbed by a Nomu. And this Nomu would try to just run away with Izuku, but immediately Izuku would just start erupting in flames, trying to burn this Nomu down to the ground, trying to burn him up so that he can get out of harm's way. But the Nomu seems to be pretty resistant of the fire, leading Izuku to having to expel even more fire, leading to the Nomu eventually burning to a crisp. Izuku would fly away as the Nomus would still be attacking him. No other Nomu is even trying to get a hold of Izuku, or no other Nomu is trying to get a hold of anyone else. Only Izuku. Izuku continues trying to get out of harm's way, and everyone's like, what's happening? Why are they only after Izuku? Why are they only going after him? What is going on? In which, of course, the other people, the other students, the other teachers, Aizawa and many others, they're trying to help. They're trying to do something. What are they supposed to do, though? This is ridiculous. This is insane. The Nomus are whittling Izuku down, slowing him down, and he can't get away. They're dragging him, and eventually they even grab him, and multiple Nomus take him away. He tries to burn them all up, but all the fire that is being consumed is definitely getting to him, making him slower, making him more tired. He doesn't know what's happening, but this must have been planned from the very beginning. Somebody must have told whoever made this attack that the bus route that they were going down and exactly where they were going. And this worries Izuku. He doesn't know what's happening, but as he finally gets away from the Nomus, as he finally burns them up, he sees that wherever they were taking him, they already brought him there. He's faced off with multiple high-end Nomus, and on top of that, there's one person standing there as well, that being All For One. And soon, All Might is on his way. Many other heroes are on their way, speeding and running and trying to get there as soon as possible. But soon, they will realize that whatever is going on, whatever is happening, it might just be too late. It might just be too late for them, or for him. And out of nowhere, Izuku would be grabbed by All For One, and as All Might and many others arrive, it seems as if All For One has Izuku by the throat, and Izuku struggling to get out, and he looks at all of them. In tears in his eyes, he can feel the Quirk slipping away from him, and he begins to burn as bright as possible, trying to burn up the Nomus and All For One at the same time. He doesn't care about death. He doesn't care about killing anymore. He's thinking about what All For One is doing. He's thinking about the fact that this is gonna be really bad. And he starts trying to burn up, but soon the fire would dissipate, and none other than All For One would stand there with an Izuku in his hands as he would drop him to the ground, and he would turn to actual ash. And he watches him turn to actual ash, and it would shock him. It would shock everybody entirely. Izuku Midoriya, he's gone. As the wings would show up behind All For One, and All For One would tell them that this is over now. This is their end. This is true immortality, in which he would raise into the sky, fire blazing around him, and he would put out both of his hands as the fire would surround him, and the fire would surround everyone else, sending a molten blast of just magma and fire and everything you could think of toward the large group of heroes, burning, singeing, and hurting so many of them so much. And All For One stands there, or flies above all of them like a god. He's flying, flapping his wings, and he tells them that this immortality goes further, runs deeper, and they will never understand it, because now he has the ability to rule over everybody for years, tens of years, decades, centuries, anything you can think of. It doesn't matter how long. It doesn't matter how much time. All of it is now his. Everybody is staring at him as their limbs are on fire or burnt to a crisp, and everybody's staring at him in shock, wondering what can they do? Is there anything they can do? Is there a single thing, a single aspect, a single idea they can get through their heads, they try everything, sending power at All For One, sending electricity, water, anything you can think of to try to cool him off or stop him entirely. And even All Might tries to punch him into the earth, trying to United States smash All For One to nothingness, trying to give it his all. But as all this is happening, as every single person utilizes every little bit of power they possibly could have, sending power his way, sending anything his way, they look, and with one final United States of smash, his body would crumble. But then there was a realization that would go over all of them. A realization that that's what he wanted. What All For One wanted was his own death. And this would shock everybody. No, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Because they realize that All For One wanted to die. All For One wanted this to happen because as the ashes settle, as the fire would be no more, soon a much younger All For One would rise from those ashes, being reborn, reincarnated, and the eternal phoenix powers within him awaken a power once again. And now they're standing and staring at inevitable doom. Inevitable doom. This is the end for all of them. This is what's going to change everything. This will be the end of all of them. And they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And they have no clue what. A single idea could pop in someone's head. Maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way to counter what's going on. Maybe. Just maybe. But nobody can even mutter an idea, mutter a thought, because all they see is All For One at his peak with powers beyond the eternal. They don't know what to say, what to do. And All For One would consume this entire city in flames. The flames grow and everybody runs trying to get to safety. All Might and many others try to get many other people to safety, and he flattens an entire city in fire and ash. It's burned to a crisp and destroyed, and it lays there completely in destruction, and everybody is in awe. Everybody don't understand, and even All For One, well, All For One continues to seek out anybody who would stand by his side and anybody who will follow without a second thought. And that's exactly what All For One does. He flies around, breaks Shigaraki and many others out of prison that are loyal to him, and he continues to gather this army, gather a force that frankly he doesn't even need anymore, but he gets and gathers everybody near. And he tells them all that this will be a new age of villains. And now villains will truly be immortal. In which this is shocking, terrifying almost. And let's just say the Japanese heroes, they try to survive little by little. People hide away. People leave the country. People try to stay safe. But it feels as if there's nothing. There's nothing they can truly do. Only one thing that they're thinking. They're gathering up, everybody gathering up to try and make a plan. Shoot, they're even gathering villains alike. Villains like Overhaul, people like that, people that have done horrendous things, but at the end of the day, they don't have much of a choice. They have to do something, and they need to do something. They gather up a plan with support items and many other different things, something to extinguish All For One and make him pass on for good. But they don't know if it will work. They have no idea if it will happen, but it's one last final chance, a chance that they're praying will stop him. And may Hatsume and many other great support heroes try and make something that will cancel the quirk entirely, remove the Phoenix from All For One, and stop everything that is happening, stop everything that is occurring. After months of preparing, after months of training, and after months of hiding away and preparing, they finally get their chance. Finally get their chance to stop all of this. and eventually they would come across an All For One that is ready to destroy the rest of Japan with his entire army. And many others, well, they're trying their best to figure out how they will stop this. And after a hard-fought battle, a battle that is so brutal that they see countless numbers of heroes be massively injured or die in the feat of war, it seems like they only have one choice. One singular choice. All Might in his insane All Might armor that makes him super powerful. On top of that, many other heroes that have water-like quirks, many other heroes that have ice-like quirks, anything you could think from villain to hero, they are utilizing everything to cool him down and basically stabilize the fire that is being created. And eventually the support kind of item that they need to stick on All For One would be sacrificed by two of the more durable heroes you could think of, and they dive in, putting the support item on All For One, and putting the support item that supposedly will kind of restrict the Phoenix's kind of ability to resurrect, in hopes that it will halt what's happening. And they do everything so perfectly, everything so beautifully. But as this is happening, as this is occurring, many heroes are falling, many heroes are dying, and many heroes will meet their maker. But eventually All For One would be stopped, and again would crumble to ash, and they would wait. They would wait. Other villains alike, even the villains on the side of All For One, would wait, staring at the ashes, wondering, is he coming back? Is all this for none? Is everything they did for nothing? And they watch, they stare. Time would go by. 5 seconds would feel like 5 hours, and they would watch as the ashes would calm, but then they would burst into flames once again, creating this figment of a phoenix approaching and a phoenix surrounding them all. This phoenix would fly into the air, and as it would fly into the sky, this other image would show up. All For One would appear, but soon All For One's smile, that as if he's back once again, would dissipate. He could feel his body burning, his whole entire body burning up, and soon a figment of a different person, Izuku Midoriya with flaming wings, would approach All For One, this figment of him, and burn him to a crisp, putting himself in the position of the Phoenix and taking control once again. With the Phoenix's help, it allowed Izuku to regain the control and regain even more powers than you could imagine. Powers that were All For One's, and powers that will never leave him no longer. And Izuku would have even larger wings. The flames would even be brighter than normal, and he would slowly come to the ground. And villains on the side of All For One would look at him and wonder, are you still him? Are you still All For One? But Izuku would turn and flap his giant wings one more time, sending all of the villains flying, crashing, and immediately out cold on the ground. And he would look toward the heroes and tell them that he apologizes. He's sorry of what occurred, what happened, and he's sorry that it took to this moment for him to come back. He saw things, probably years and years passed on by. For them, it was only months, but for him, it was tens of years. He saw so much in such a quick succession. The Phoenix granted him so much kind of power and knowledge, and then here we were. The chance was happening once again, and Izuku was granted the opportunity to rise from the ashes once again, and he took that opportunity without a second thought. Everybody sighs in relief, happy, but also terrified at the same time, but happy. They're happy that everything went their way, at least to an extent. Everything went their way to just some sort of degree. And now they have this opportunity. Now they can rebuild this burned down city, the city that is burnt to a crisp, burnt to ashes. Now they can rebuild it, build it back up, and resurrect it just like the flaming eternal phoenix. But all these villains, they're gifted or granted a second chance. From Overhaul to many others are gifted a chance to be better. But if they fall back into their old ways, which, spoiler alert, they would, a lot of these heroes would be in the right position to take them down and make sure that they no longer hurt anyone ever again. And Izuku, yes, he's tested and watched and honestly really looked at heavily, but he's granted his opportunity to be the hero he wants to be, and he believes that he can be that hero. He can be everyone's hero and really grant safety to Japan over a large amount of time. Not only because he has the power back from All for One and even more than normal, but he truly is granted the power of the Eternal Phoenix, allowing him to be the true protector of everyone for longer than any hero has ever been. But that is where we're going to end off the final part and the series of What If Deku had an Eternal Phoenix quirk. And if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I don't have much else to say. Make sure to show some love to the video. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.